All right, guys, coming at you today, August 6th, 2023, for our live stream to talk about the Walking Dead universe. We got 5 weeks until the Daryl Dixon show. I'm One Eye Bry, also known as PT. Don't know if I'm winking or blinking, but I'm definitely thinking about the Walking Dead universe. And I just want to talk about a bunch of different topics, some shows, movies that we watched. SummerSlam was last night. Nothing really much to talk about the Walking Dead universe besides they're kind of trickling out some Daryl Dixon stuff. Someone said a great point about in the comments about the hype for Dead City seemed like so much more than the Daryl show, even though the Daryl show, like I said, is in 5 weeks. So hopefully it gets more stuff out and maybe get some promo photos or some more information, or maybe they won't. Who knows? But let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below. Definitely participate in the top chat. I'll be here for the next hour to talk about a bunch of different things. So like I said, yesterday was August 5th, 2023. We had a SummerSlam, and there was the Jake Paul, Nate Diaz fight, and whatever else you guys are watching. Let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below to top chat, not below, but in the top chat. We always appreciate that. I cannot see any of the chat. If anybody's here, let me know. Post some stuff in there just so I know it's working. There you go. I get to see some people there too. Sometimes it's a little delay with YouTube. Thank you, Big Tree, for posting in the top chat. It's good afternoon, everyone, and PT. So, yeah, guys, we had the Hall of Fame football game for NFL preseason football, which to me is like fake football. Next week, we'll have Hard Knocks on HBO about the New York Jets, which is interesting because of Aaron Rodgers and all that stuff. Hey, Noobster, how we doing? Noobster, I believe, is the one that told me about From, that I shared the wealth about the show from. And hopefully people are continue to pass it along. I know I told my dad about it, and then he told my cousin about it, and he told us about it. People are talking about it a bunch of different. Sometimes the best way is word of mouth. And what's up, Lil Chi 721? So it's always cool. I think some of the best things is word of mouth marketing, or just stuff that's recommendations, because marketing and trailers and this and that, you don't know what they're trying to do. But if someone actually likes something, like, I will never tell you something that I don't like and say that I do like it. If I like it, then I'll tell you about it. If I don't like it, I'll tell you about it as well. Like, there's just nothing for me to gain right now too. And I don't want to be one of those fake people that are like, oh yeah, well, it's actually really good, when it's not. And it's just, no, I'm not about that. I'm about being real, what I like, what I don't like. Just best way to be about it too. What's up, Big Tree, Noobster, Little Chi, Brian, Brenda, Rob K, Diana, and everyone else joining as we speak. So again, today is August 6th, 2023. We have the Daryl Dixon show coming on in 5 weeks. So we'll be here talking about a variety of things throughout the rest of the year. But I don't know if you guys saw my comment, or my post, I should say. I started Ozark. Well, we started Ozark months ago, watched 1 episode and didn't really get into it. But we finished the first season yesterday. It's 10 episodes. And I was thinking about doing some videos about it, especially some of the cast that's in, or some of the actors that are in Ozark and also the Walking Dead universe, which is always kind of fun to see that too. So Noobster says, I'm so happy that you and your wife enjoyed it. It's funny, my son was asking me what PT is watching now. So right now we're watching Ozark, which, probably if you've already, Ozark's been out for years, so I'm behind the 8 ball with that. I gotta catch up on the Lioness, or Special Ops Lioness, on Paramount Plus. So it's Lioness, not Linus. But we're watching Dark Winds. We watched the first 2 episodes. It's a good season so far. I enjoyed the first season. Dark Winds is on AMC, and I'm guessing AMC Plus. And if you haven't seen that, it's pretty cool. I don't know who the actual writers and stuff are, but I know George R.R. Martin and Robert Redford are involved with it, so it's pretty cool. We're also watching Twisted Metal, like Rob Key says. Twisted Metal is worth a shot. In my opinion, Sweet Tooth is hilarious. I like Twisted Metal so far. I think we're 4 or 5 episodes in, And I like Anthony Mackie. I think he's funny. I think the show works. Like, it's definitely something that if you grew up playing the video game, the nostalgia's kind of there, but it's not really that accurate for the video game per se. I mean, there's a story behind it, and how can you just have the video game like that turned into a show? But it's kind of funny so far. I don't know what the back half of the final 5 episodes or so is, if it's good or interesting or setting up a season 2, but I like it so far. Brenda asks, who do you think is going to find Rick, Daryl, or Morgan? So that's a big question. I mean, that's like probably one of the biggest questions left in the Walking Dead universe. I mean, there's a bunch of questions, but the biggest one is, who's going to find Rick? Well, the fact that Daryl was out looking for Rick, he made some bad decisions, came across some bad people, and whatever happened to him, and now he's in France. That's pretty much the opposite direction where Rick should have been, in Philadelphia. If Daryl was in Ohio, that borders Pennsylvania. You can be in western Pennsylvania in probably a matter of hours. I don't know where the Commonwealth actually is in Ohio, but you could probably be in there a couple hours and you'll be in the same state that Rick would be, even though Rick was in eastern Pennsylvania, which is a very long, east to west state. But, I don't know what the future is for Morgan. Like, I hope Morgan is seen again. From what I've seen on Twitter and all the stuff on there, it kind of just feels like Morgan is done. Like, Morgan just finished his episodes. He's done with the series. He's done with everything. What's going to happen left? He did say in an interview that, there's not really much for the character left for the character. He would have to have really good writing for him to come back. And that he's basically done with the show. Done with the series, at least. They're done with at least Fear the Walking Dead. And Fear the Walking Dead is done the next 6 episodes. That comes back in October. And it looks like they're going to go the original characters from the first 3 seasons, along with June and Dwight and Sherry, of course, on those. But it's going to be a Madison, Strand, Daniel, and, spoiler warning, Troy. So, hey, Tim, glad you could make it. And Noobster says, I did start watching Ozark, and oh my God, Dark Winds is also good. Yeah, I'm glad you like Dark Winds, and I like Ozark as well. So like I said, we finished the first season. Hopefully, so don't give anything away, but hopefully Ozark continues getting good, if not better and better, like progressing on the story, and it gets good. It maintains the same level of writing, and it's good storytelling in second and third. I don't know if there's 4 or 5 seasons of it, but hopefully it continues on to the rest of the series as well. But I don't know if Morgan's going to find Rick. I hope so. I would like to see Morgan again somehow, some way, and to connect with Rick, I think would be a fitting ending, because he says, I'm going to find you, Rick. I'm going to come to Alexandria. I don't know if you're there or not, but I'm going to find you. Okay, cool. Don't say that if you're not going to try that, if we're not going to see that. Is it just left open-ended to possibly be open-ended? I don't know. Dr. Hunk 94 asks, what about Alicia? What about her? Great question. I don't know, because Alicia left last season. Season 7, the season before the final season, she was out. She was like, this is my last episode. This is my last thing. I want to go do other shows. And I think that she's in some other show with Sigourney Weaver on Amazon. I don't know what it's called offhand. I saw her in the trailer or whatever it was. And I'm like, hey, there's Alicia. But I don't know if they're going to come back for it. I hope so. Like, it'd be really crappy to to have Alicia not reunite with Madison. Like, that would just... But Fear the Walking Dead has just been a cluster all over the place. It's just one of those shows that we had different showrunners, different writing, different storytelling. We bring people over. It didn't want to do that from the beginning. They're fighting what they wanted to do. We had them at Clark's. People left. Different locations. It's just... Oh, man. It's just all over the place. I'm not sure it's going to get any better than the stuff we got to see in Season 8, Part A, with King County and Morgan and the stuff there. And Season 3 had its moments, and every season has had its moments, and Season 6 was pretty good. But when it's all said and done, probably 2, maybe 3 seasons of that show is worth watching. I'll probably never go back and watch an episode of it again. but I want to see how it ends. I want to see what is the final end game for it, right? Like Jack asks, do you think Strand will survive season 8? I think so. Strand, in my eyes, should have been dead seasons ago, but they kept him around. Like, what's the purpose of Luciana? What's the purpose of all these characters in Fear the Walking Dead? They have so many nonsense characters. Like, their point to me, all right, the point I saw with them is they wrote themselves in a corner, right? They were like, okay, we have the Clarks, we have Travis, we have Strand, we have this, we have that, the boat, Mexico, here, that. Then you paint yourself in a corner or write yourself in a corner because then you bring new characters in. And then you bring in Morgan and John Dory and June, who's had like 5 different names. And you bring in all these characters that are great, but what do you do with the other characters? Like, you didn't have any story for Luciana. Like, Luciana was kind of a badass character in season 2. And then in season 3, she went away. And then season 4, she just magically came back. Like, it was so easy to find each other. Like, they don't live on an island. They don't live in the smallest place ever. They live in the United States or Mexico or whatever. Like, they live in North America. Like, it's huge. But in the Walking Dead universe, Morgan can go from Virginia to Texas like that and magically find people that we know. Like, what are you doing? What is that? It's just so laughable. And then the stuff, they have the beer maker, and they have Sarah and Wendell, and then they have this guy, and then they have that guy, and then they have this guy, and then they have that guy, and then they kill this one guy off, and they have this. And next thing you know, you have way too many characters, and the writing is there. And it's tough. As a writer myself, I can understand what it's like to bring in new characters and bring that about this in and bring this in. But you have to have adequate story for stuff for enough characters. Like, I wouldn't bring in new characters, or too many new characters, until you had some sort of resolution or a character death or something with some of the characters that you've already wrote about. It's like buying new stuff all the time and not using what you had, or like buying the food in your fridge and then not eating it and then buying more fruit. And you're like, well, what do you about this stuff here? And then it's like, I don't know. It's stale. Let's get rid of it. But you can't really do that very easily on a show. It's just, I don't know. It's just one of those things where we'll see in October when it happens too. But the next show is the Daryl Dixon show, and I'm getting more and more excited about it. And there's a video going around highlighting the villain named Codron. His real name is like Roman Levy or something like that. And he seems like a nice guy in the interview and stuff, but he's playing a villain. He's playing a bad guy that is in some French political thing that's a group called The Cause, and I want to get the clips together and stuff, and then get some pictures together and make a video about that. But like I said, the next show is the Daryl Dixon show that'll be in 5 weeks. So I'm excited to see where that goes. Now, I saw a thing online that is on @WalkingDead_AMC on Twitter. And it's a 30-second recap of Comic-Con. Yeah, that happened a couple weeks ago now. But they give away like so much stuff. Like, of course, we know about Dead City Season 2, Daryl Dixon Season 2. Rick and Michonne is now called The Ones Who Live. But then they also talk about all the episodes of Fear the Walking Dead are available on AMC+. And they also spoil that Troy returns, even though we spoiled it months ago. And it's verified and confirmed now from them through that. But it's not like it's on their Instagram, like Fear the Walking Dead's Instagram. It's on some quick thing that was posted from Comic-Con. So Troy's coming back, and we'll have to see. This is kind of what Fear the Walking Dead did. Madison being killed off is like, what are you doing? It's like killing Rick off. Because Madison, if not Nick, they're the face of the show. They're the main characters, right? It's just, I don't know. But you brought her back. I never saw the body and blah, 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 all that stuff. People are like, oh, Madison's back. Doesn't make sense, but she's back. She needs oxygen, which is not easily to find and have, I don't know. And then Troy's coming back. And we'll have to see what the remaining 6 episodes are. That seems like a lot of episodes. We have to find out how Madison survived the stadium. We have to find out what Troy's been up to. We have to find out the reunion of Strand and Madison and what they've been doing, because we didn't see them at all in the first half of season 8. But like I said, I'm way more excited about the Daryl show than Fear the Walking Dead season 8. But how about you guys? Are you excited for both shows? One show, none show? Please let me know. So, yeah. Let me see. Jack, do you think if Nick survived, it would have made the show more? Yeah, I like Nick. My favorite characters on Fear were Daniel and Nick early on. Madison has always annoyed me. Travis was too much of a wuss until right before he died. Alicia was nothing really great in my opinion early on. Strand was, I don't know, okay. It was interesting, but I would go with Nick and Daniel were my favorite characters in the first couple seasons of the show. And I don't know. We'll have to see, what actually happens with the final things. It's just like Brian Acom says, Fear sucks. That's why I quit. Fear is definitely part of the universe, the Walking Dead universe. And if it wasn't part of that, I probably wouldn't watch it. But it is. It was like Black Summer. Not very good, but I watched it and had to finish it off. And it's just, I don't know. It's part of the universe. It's gotten better and different with Morgan coming around, and John Dory was good, and June was good. And Dwight and Sherry made interesting stuff. But it's kind of like small little interests. Not enough, Kami asks, why Troy of all characters? Well, because Troy was a villain in season 3, and they need a final villain, and there's only 6 episodes left. To start anyone new would be like character episode. You get to meet this character, then you see what they've done, then they have to fight against the character loses, wrap up the show, done. So it's easy just to bring the Troy back in probably one of the first 2 episodes of the second half. We already are familiar with the character. We can see what he's up to, and it's going to be what's more familiar to us on there as well. Brian asks, hey, Brian, do you think the CRM could have already been defeated by Dead City timeline? It could be, but so CRM is one of those things that it's just really annoying to me. Dr. Hunk asks, what's your thoughts on Rick and Michonne's final episode? We haven't seen it yet. And I don't know if there's going to be a second season or not of that too, so I don't know what the final episode is going to be. But I've said numerous times that I think Rick will die. Or if I wrote it, I would have Rick die after he gets to see his family and then he finally dies. Because he dies in the comic. The show really needs to have an ending for Rick. And then if Rick dies, then it's truly he's done. He comes back to end it, right? He comes back. He's got unfinished business. He settles everything. Gets saved by Michonne. They come back. He meets RJ, Judith, and he's wounded, and he dies from his wound. That's how I would write it. Because if Rick lives, they're gonna every time they're gonna see Andrew Lincoln, they'll be like, "Hey, you gonna come back and be Rick? You gonna be Rick Grimes again? How about Rick? Is Rick Grimes gonna show up again somehow, some way? Rick's gonna be 82 years old. Is Rick gonna come back and do this?" But they should have a big epic battle with Major General Beale and CRM, and they're really going to highlight CRM. So CRM is basically highlighted in World Beyond, obviously, and the Rick and Michonne, The Ones Who Live show. So that's 2 shows that were devoted to CRM. It was introduced in The Walking Dead, seen a little bit on Fear the Walking Dead. World Beyond clearly was all about that, and now the Rick and Michonne, The Ones Who Live show is all about that too. So I don't know. I mean, is it going to connect with Daryl? It could, but I don't know if CRM is going to reach that far. CRM just could be in the United States. And but, I've always said it before, CRM is the easiest way to bind everything too. So Brian asks, hey, Brian, why do all the shows minus World Beyond do the absolute minimum with CRM? They shouldn't be Easter eggs. They should drive the plot. I think so too. I mean, well, if you think about it, Robert Kirkman wanted to write a zombie story about almost like an everyday character. Rick Grimes was a sheriff's deputy. He was a police officer. He was definitely involved with law enforcement. But he was kind of like an everyday guy with his family and this. And then You get to kind of see that. It wasn't like we were following like some military guy like Jack Reacher or something, right? You know, like that guy would come up with stuff, stay alive, come up with booby traps, set stuff up, go to a final place. And that would be pretty cool to see. And I would love to see that actually in a story. But that's not what The Walking Dead is about. The Walking Dead is not about finding a cure. The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman, to me, from my understanding, is that he wrote The Walking Dead because when you watch the zombie stories and the shows and really just the movies. So the zombie movies, you see the show, it goes for an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever. They get to a certain point and then it ends. And he was like, now what? What happens after that? And I think we're all like that, right? So he was trying to write the zombie story that never ended, even though it did end. But the zombie story that had an extended run. And so it makes sense for him to have a zombie story that's connected with stuff like that. But there's not really a lot of military characters. I mean, besides Abraham and a couple people here and there, the military is not really there. I mean, the governor goes to the military and takes them out. It finds them and takes their weapons and their vehicles and everything like that too. It's kind of like they're not really involved with the story. And you would think in a zombie apocalypse show, you would have the military, the government, whatever, a little more involved than it was. The CRM angle is that. It's the Civic Republic military. The Civic Republic is like the government. And the military is they're part of the government. So they are going their way and their route. And it's interesting because we got to see it, but it's always just been a tease, right? It was like, oh, they're the mysterious hiding in the shadows. Jadis had cans with the 3 rings on it. Ooh, what does that mean? Oh, they have a helicopter coming to pick up, Negan or whatever, pick up Rick. Ooh, it was basically Rick's exit with Jadis, right? Just like you brought Georgie in for Maggie's exit. Okay, cool. Never saw Georgie ever again. She was mentioned like once in season 11, but it's a character that you brought in to take a major character away. So it's a writing for an exit. CRM is kind of that way, but it just kind of is. It's kind of annoying to see CRM. We want like if you're a fan of something, you want to know all about it. If you're a super fan, you want to know all about it. You want to buy the t-shirts, the DVDs, the action figures, the memorabilia, all this stuff. You want to know everything up and down, behind the scenes stuff. What does that mean? What is this? What's that? We want to see all the things there. You want to see animated stuff and web series and behind the scenes stuff of all things, all shorts. We want to see all the stuff, all shapes and sizes, everything we're getting involved in the storytelling. And for the most part, The Walking Dead did a really good job with that early on, and then they had too many characters and too much stuff going on and this and that, and they brought the CRM in, and we're like, okay, cool, where's that going? Nowhere. Let's have a show about it, but not really explain much about it. Okay, great. Let's tease some things, and where are they? Ooh, they have fuel caches all over the United States. Ooh, they have this. Ooh, they blow up the Omaha colony. Oh, the Portland. Okay, great. A's and B's still really hasn't been exactly explained. And it's been a highlighted thing for multiple seasons, multiple things. And we're at the point now where I don't know if the audience really cares that much. The audience isn't really the same what it is. But for the diehard fans like ourselves, we want to know, what does an A and B truly mean? Do the theories really hold up for it? What does it mean for the CRM, the government, Major General Beale? Are we going to see how these characters connect? Who were the people that Michonne found? Who were the people that just survived all this long? And are the World Beyond people going to show up again somehow, some way? What have Hope and Iris and Dr. Bennett been doing for all these years now? The timeline is all over the place. We saw the timeline here, the timeline there. Rick and Michonne went away here. This happened there. Then we saw in Tales of the Walking Dead, we saw a glimpse of the future with Anthony Edwards, that episode on Tales of the Walking Dead. He's in the middle of nowhere on some remote island or something, looking at the different species and how it is and this and that, and the walkers. And it's just like he was studying them. And so that was a lot of years into the zombie apocalypse. So there's a lot of stuff to be out there. I don't know what the true end game is going to be, but I'm still interested in it. We've definitely been excited to see where the stuff goes still. So I'm still involved there too. But like I said, I've been watching Ozark, Twisted Metal, and that's kind of been not many other shows on there as well. Just like I said, SummerSlam was yesterday. I don't see my wrestling guy in here, John, but it was pretty good from what I watched. Oh, Heels as well. That's another wrestling show on Stars, and Dark Winds too. So trying to do that, trying to do house projects, trying to stay cool. I know I think Negan 1 lives in Arizona, and hopefully it's not 113 degrees there or whatever. I live in Florida, so it's hot year round here basically. And all I know is that it's record heat in like Texas, Arizona, Las Vegas. So stay cool, stay hydrated, but, just maintain your health and make sure you're okay too. Diana asks, Q&A, anything about Rick Michonne's show being more than 6 episodes? So nothing yet, Diana. Nothing confirmed about that. As far as I know, it's season 1, 6 episodes. 1 season of 6 episodes. That's all I know. I don't know if it being confirmed anything else because nothing has come out about it, So from that 30-second thing, we saw that we're getting 2 seasons at least of Dead City, 2 seasons of the Daryl Dixon Show at least. Fear the Walking Dead is ending, and it didn't say anything about a second season of The Ones Who Live. Just confirmed the title of The Ones Who Live there too. So yeah, it's tough on there too. A little cheat. I watched Marvel's Secret Invasion. It's better than WandaVision, but other than that, it was just laughable, the craziness that happened. And I like Nick Fury. I like Sam Jackson. I just didn't like what they did with it. It just seemed like, what am I watching here? The stuff with the Skrulls was just, ugh. And then, I don't know. They're setting basically up, what's its name? The Marvels, which I'm not going to watch that also too. So I don't know. Lisa Young Hopkins, hello. Lindsay, our also moderator, is here. So she says, "Hey, I'm late. It's okay. It's always appreciated that you're here, and the rest of my moderators and you guys taking the time to be here. We truly appreciate it." Brian says, "Do you think Hope's yeast fungus will matter against the dead?" I don't think so. I mean, it was like the way they wrapped it up. It was like, okay, she's really smart and she knows how to kill them. Great. Here's a post-credit scene setting up France, the French CDC, variant walkers, and there you go. Did it start there? Were the variants created there? Did the zombie apocalypse start there in France? Hopefully it's explained in the Daryl show. So if the Daryl show connects with the World Beyond post-credit scene, like we go to the actual lab, that'll be great. If we find out more about the Primrose and Violet teams and stuff like that, that would be great. We find out more about the variants, that would be great. I don't really care about the Laurent thing with the revival of humanity. I could care less about that. I don't think some French kid is going to be the revival of humanity. Like, that's a lot to ask from one person, one individual. So is he immune? Is he the cure? Is he none of it? Is it a red herring? Is it nonsense? I don't care about that stuff. I care about the other stuff with Daryl, and the Laurent stuff could be good. It could be bad. It could be nonsense, but hopefully it's interesting. Because all I know is that it sounds a lot like The Last of Us. Some people who know what The Last of Us is agree. Some people don't. But okay, The Last of Us is Joel and Ellie going somewhere throughout the United States from Massachusetts to Colorado, and Joel is escorting Ellie. Excuse me. Ellie is immune. Ellie isn't the cure. She's immune. They go to a place, the Fireflies, this and that. The Fireflies want to operate on her. Joel doesn't like that, saves her life. And there you go. That's the story. It's good. It's great. The acting's great. I enjoy the writing, the actors. It's good. That being its own story. The zombie apocalypse is there's only so many avenues of it. So is it revolutionary? Is it, same old stuff? Do they take stuff from other people? I don't know. But the Daryl show, Daryl comes across these people like Joel comes across Ellie. It's not his daughter, has nothing to do with it. Daryl comes across Laurent. Instead of Joel being Daryl and Ellie being Laurent, great. Laurent is a boy, I believe. So that's Daryl and a boy. Not Joel and a girl. So there's a difference there. But ultimately, if he's the revival of humanity, great. Is she the revival of humanity? We'll have to see if that goes down the road. Is it a cure angle? Is it immunity? I don't know. But it's an escorting of a child from one location to another. And all the chaos that ensues is kind of what it is. It's just set in France instead of America. Does it bother me? No, I don't care. I don't care if it's a similar story or not. It's just one of those things where it's very similar, in my opinion. Do you agree? Do you think that The Last of Us and the Daryl show, on paper at least, sound pretty similar? Not exactly the same, but pretty similar. Do you agree? Brian says, how cool would it be if we saw a horde of variants against the CRM? It would be great to like the variants. To me, I don't want to see them run. I don't want to see them be acrobatic. I don't want to see them do backflips. I don't want to see them talk. I don't want to see them use weapons. I don't want to see them use utensils. Like I don't want to see any of that stuff. Like the walkers are actually going back to being normal. No, I don't need to see them get motor function and all this stuff back and they can be a regular person in society again because of time or whatever. No, the body would start to break down and decay and decompose, and the walkers would start to get less and less and less and less and less and less as time goes by. Millions and millions of people are not dying every day. Say if there's 10 billion people in the Walking Dead universe, so many people would have died right away. They're not going to come back as fresh people. They're going to be walkers. And once they're killed as a walker, they're done. And then, okay, yes, people would have babies. People would do this. But you would have, what? A bunch of babies that were born. Not all of them would survive. But then you have a bunch of 12-year-olds or 13-year-olds or 15-year-olds, however long they were born, into the zombie apocalypse. It wouldn't be a bunch of adults. They would be teenagers up there too. So it's kind of laughable, especially the amount of walkers that are in Dead City, especially if the Croat was using them for methane. And how many walkers were in the sewers, right? How many walkers were used to make methane, the gas, for the vehicles? How many there, too? Fresh walkers would not be being around all the time. They would start to break down and decay over time. And I don't even know how many years Dead City is into the zombie apocalypse, but it's at least 12, maybe 15 years. And how long does it take for a walker to decompose, break down? We don't know. It just wasn't really just anything that makes sense, in my opinion. But again, it's fictional. It's this, it's that, but it's something that it's interesting. Let me see. Lindsay says, at Soul Life. Where's Soul Life? I saw something talking about New Jerseys. Let me see. Lindsay says, that's so like Bri is a Jersey dude too. Haha, I just made that connection. I'm jealous of your birthday trip. I guess I could go to Cherokee here, mini Atlantic City. And speaking of Atlantic City, my dad was just there 2 weeks ago or so. And they went to, was it Bally's? I think the one of the casinos on the Atlantic City Boardwalk, Bally's. There was a show, it was a Michael Jackson show, and he was all excited to go. Him and my stepmom went to the show, and they got like front row seats or whatever. And it's not Michael Jackson, obviously, because Michael Jackson passed away, but it's an impersonator, and the guy was dancing. And you were allowed to take videos on there, and he showed me a video of it, and the guy was pretty good. He moonwalked, and he was doing the dance moves, and he moonwalked across the stage like pretty far, and it was pretty impressive, and it was pretty cool to see. And then my dad's like, oh, yeah, I want to go to a comedy show next. And my dad doesn't know any stand-up comedians. You know, he might know, like, people back in the day, but Eddie Murphy's not going on tour, and, Rodney Dangerfield's not going on tour. So I was like, do you know any comedians? He's like, no. And I was like, you have to go see Sebastian Maniscalco. He's like, oh, okay. And I looked up Sebastian Maniscalco, and he's actually going to be in Atlantic City in November. He's got, like, 5 or 6 or 8 dates in November. And it's like a bunch of days in a row. And it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. You should go there. It's at the Borgata. And I'm like, man, that's cool. You should go check them out. So we looked at tickets. They're like $200, $300, $400. And I was like, nah, you know what you should do? Go on Netflix and look up Sebastian Maniscalco and watch the stand-up comedy there. You have Netflix. It's free to watch there. It's on your service already. Go watch it. And so I haven't checked it with him, but he's that was the latest thing there. I thought it was pretty funny. So yeah, I mean, I would recommend Sebastian Maniscalco if you ever get a chance to see him. My wife and I saw him a couple years ago at the Straz Center here in downtown Tampa, and he was hilarious. And so was the opening act, was really funny too. So I'll give you an update of my Fight for Us book series. I just ordered my proof yesterday. It should be here Wednesday. So I'll check the cover. I'm on chapter 12, I believe. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, I'm on chapter 12. I got 7 chapters left to review and edit of my book. And then I will have it ready to go. So I have to make the Kindle version and got to do all this stuff. And hopefully my proof looks good. I might have to adjust the cover a little bit here and there. And so hopefully I'm still shooting for this month. I can't give a date just yet, but once I have it there, I'll post a comment or I'll make a post about it on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. But I'm excited because Reset is the book. And if you know anything about the Fight for Us franchise, you hopefully know what reset means in that world. And I don't want to give anything away. But also, I was just checking on Amazon. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can get my Fight for Us book. I don't know if they're all on Amazon Kindle Unlimited for free, if you already have the Kindle Unlimited. If you don't, my first book on Kindle is 99 cents. And so that I wouldn't make much money at all because it's 99 cents. But it starts the book series. It comes back to the channel, and enough people do that, and it would be pretty awesome. So it's this thing on there too. If you have a Kindle, also paperback versions are always there as well. And later on the books, Kindle versions are I think $3.99 is what the Kindle version is, and the paperback are $10.99 because the cost of the paper and all that stuff too. I was like going through some of my books, and there's a book by, I don't know how to say his name, Paulo Coelho. It's called The Alchemist, and it's only like 167 pages or something. And that book's $13. I'm like, man, that's crazy. And it's an international bestseller and all this stuff. And my books are over 230, 40 pages, and they're $10.99. I'm like crazy. But it's just interesting to see how it goes, and just trying to. I got some time before The Walking Dead comes back in 5 weeks with the Daryl show, so I'm going in high gear with my book series and trying to spread the word a little bit about that. And it's one of those things where like you can have a good story or a good song or a good whatever, a good creative person. But if no one knows about them, if no one reads the story, if no one hears the song, if no one does anything, they're not reaching an audience, And not to say my book series are great, but I enjoy them. I think a lot of people enjoy them, and I think it's easy reading. It's nothing crazy where you can read the book in a day or two. It's not you're going to read it for months, and it's just rewarding for people to enjoy it. And I think some people in this chat like it, and I can't make people say good things or bad things about it. People just say what they are. And, it's one of those things where the book series gets better and better and better. And as with anything, I would imagine any person who wrote something or did something, or if you tried to ride a bike or you tried to, play a sport or throw a baseball or whatever, at first you sucked at it, but you got better at it the more you did, as with anything too. So, and I'm hoping that that's how shows go, but that's not always the case. Some shows are better early on, and then they hit their stride on like the third or fourth season. Like, to me, The Walking Dead is really good in the first season. The second season is a little lull with the the farm. Herschel's farm was basically the whole season there. And then in season 3 with the prison, it really picked up. Season 4 went on that even more. Season 5 went even more. Season 6 to me is great. And then season 7 was like, what do we do with this? Season 8 was like, okay, we have the war. How do we? They really struggled a lot with war and action-packed sequences like that too. Like, I think that was where The Walking Dead had good CGI, except for deers on there at times. Not all the deer are bad, but it's a running joke with the CGI deer in The Walking Dead. But some of the action stuff and the war stuff was just like, who wrote this? Who did this? Who did that on there too? And you could see where they kind of did stuff and it just wasn't the best, you know? So it's just one of those things where it's not perfect, but I still love it. I still enjoy it. I still hold it in high regard. I was thinking about things, you know, I was like going through pictures and seeing different pictures and, you know, seeing that I was just going through different convention pictures and stuff like that too. And I was like, wow, you know, I could have not gone to any of these conventions or met any of these people or started this YouTube channel or started this community on there too. And I'm glad I did. I'm super glad I did. And it's just a crazy thing to think. I was like, wow, I could have not done this at all. I could have went down a different path. And I think about that from time to time. We're like, what if you didn't go to this college or didn't meet this person or didn't do this or lived in a different state? Or what if your parents moved to North Carolina instead of here? Or if I didn't go to Florida instead of here? Or if I did that, you know, if I didn't do that? It's just kind of like, what if you did small little things and then you go to bigger things? How would your life be different? I don't know. James Hillebrand, what's the most popular book in the Fight for Us? I don't know. That's a good question. I think the most read and the most reviewed is the first book. But, you know, I think a lot of people that have read my book series haven't always done a review, especially the later books in there too. So I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. But I know the first book has the most viewers on there too, and the most reviews as well. So, but and I always like to say, like, what's my favorite book? I don't know. I've written so many. Like, this is book 19 coming up, and then I have In 100 Days is like the prequel, different angle story of it. The first 3 books. It's Fight In 100 Days, parts 1, 2, and 3. So it's a good question, James. I don't know. That's a good question for like a lot of people. Like, what's their favorite book out of it? One of my favorite books that I written recently is The Island, because so many things come together in that book, in the universe of Fight for Us, that is rewarding to write, and hopefully people enjoy it and they like it. And if you read In 100 Days and Fight for Us, you saw the connections and you put 2 and 2 together too as well. Brian asks, do you think villains have gotten better or worse in the Walking Dead universe? That's a good question. The best villains are on The Walking Dead. We all can say that, right? I wouldn't say Fear the Walking Dead didn't have the best villains at all. Like, I think their best villain was Teddy. And they didn't really set up things before Teddy and after Teddy. It was Martha was terrible and Ginny was pretty bad, and, you know, Shrike and Crane were terrible, and Troy was pretty good. The Otto family kind of dynamic was pretty good. The Proctors were okay, but all that stuff was so short-lived, you know. The World Beyond stuff was not the best. The best villains, you know, so if you go in order of the villains, and I'll probably miss a character, let me know when there too, is Shane, then the Governor, then there's like a break, and then the Governor again, and then is it like the Grady Memorial? No, the Claimers. No, it's the Grady Memorial, right? And then or either way, it doesn't matter the order of stuff, but the Claimers, Terminus, Grady Memorial, the Grady Cops, I should say, right? So they're different, but they're good. The Governor, it's tough because it was AMC, and you don't know how truly bad someone could be. Negan, I don't know. The whispers, this and that, the wolves, like it's just so crazy. Like they kind of went down this avenue of it too. But it's hard to say, like, were they getting better with it? It's kind of has its peaks and valleys on there too. I guess the question for you guys is what's the worst villain or the dumbest villain or the weakest villain or whatever villain on The Walking Dead? Not like Fear the Walking Dead, but on The Walking Dead too. It's interesting because, it's debatable of who, like some people are saying like Shane is the best villain. Is he though? Like, I don't know. Lindsay says, my writing has improved with each book, Bri. Yeah, the story has gotten better, but I think the skill for storytelling has always been there, but getting it down on pages, we see your skills grow. I appreciate that, Lindsay. So, yeah, I mean, first, when I was writing my first book, I was writing it, and then I got sick, and I went to the hospital, and I was right around the time when I was done with it. And I was kind of upset and depressed and this and that, and I was like, I just want to put my book out. When I should have stopped, edited it, reviewed it, and had my wife review it and edit it herself, but I didn't even have that, which clearly hurt the first book on there too. And that's like the first book. Like that's your first thing. That's your first connection with this series, which I don't recommend at all. And then people enjoyed it. Like people even liked it then. Even when the book was, like my first book is probably the poorest written book. And I went back and changed it and adjusted it and made the adjustments and uploaded a new file and stuff on there too. So it's much better than the first go around of it. But I was writing the books fast. I think there was a time where I wrote 3 or 4 books a year. And that's a lot. That's a book every 3 months. And that's quick. And now I learned to take my time and do this and take my time with it and don't rush it. So, yeah, Lindsay, well, I have my Crohn's disease, not RA, which it's very similar, Crohn's disease and rheumatoid arthritis. It's the same kind of treatment, too. There's a lot of the same drugs, like Humira, that I take on there, but it was Crohn's disease. But, yeah, it was a rough time in my life, and looking back on it sucked. And it's a shame that I had to go through it, but I'm better for it. And I wish I just took the time, took a break, got myself healthy and did all that, and then came back to the story. But I was like, once I get my mind on something, I get the blinders on and I'm like, got to get this done. Like if I paint a wall in a room, I better have enough time to paint the whole wall or the whole room or whatever, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to stop until it's painted. Or if I'm going to start a project, I want to get it done before I can move on with my life. And it's the same way with school or projects or anything like that too. So I don't know on there as well. Yeah, Cami says Terminus people was a great. I wish Terminus was more involved too. Like Terminus there was a big build up, and then there was some payoff. Like Terminus is probably the biggest build up and the best payoff with it. But it was so short lived. It was like so much of that season, and then we got there, and then we left there in one episode. It was just, or 2 episodes. Like at the end of the episode, we were there, captured this, boom, premiere. Which, season 5 premiere is one of the best episodes of the series. But, boom, Terminus is gone, even though the termites went after them. And so it was interesting, too. Lindsay says, oh, yeah, Crohn's. I thought RA because we took the same meds. I'm sorry. It's a fine. I have gastroparesis, too, so not the same. Slightly similar with RA and gastroparesis. Yeah, it's, it's an autoimmune disease that, Crohn's affects your stomach and your digestion and your malabsorption and your colon and all that stuff too. But I still feel the stuff in my bones and my joints, like my thumb and my knees and my ankle. My Achilles was bothering me the other day, and my right thumb has been bothering me for weeks now. And it's just stuff bothers me from time to time. And maybe it's from Humira. Maybe it is Crohn's. Maybe it's this. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of both. But it just sucks. It's just one of those things where I got to deal with it. And you wake up and I feel for anybody who has any autoimmune disease. You know, like it sucks. And for people, excuse me, who don't have it and people who don't understand it, that's okay. But for people who downplay it for stuff, it's like, if you don't know, then don't knock it, don't put it down or make the person feel bad from it. Some people do. That's what it is, but you know. Brian asks, do you think Judith abandonment issues should have been more fleshed out? Not really. I mean, they made Judith like a survivor, and I like that about it. I don't like whiny people. And Judith, to me, is like the best kid in the zombie apocalypse of Walking Dead. You know, RJ's okay. Young Carl was annoying, but he got better with time. Judith, I don't know. Judith to me was the best. Like that's a good question. Who do you think is the best kid in the Walking Dead universe? Like, it ain't Sam. It ain't Tobias. You know, I don't know. Like, I just think Judith, like kids adapt, some better than others. You have to survive. You got to keep going. And I think Judith was a great brother. Clementine's just in the video game. But yeah, Clementine. Big Pearson. Do you think we will see Judith and RJ in the Rick and Michonne series? I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with that. I mean, there was no word of seeing Judith and or RJ during filming, but you never know. And we know that Judith is going to be a cameo type thing in the Daryl show in the first episode. So it's probably just Daryl remembering Judith on there too. So I don't think they filmed anything new with Judith. But if you follow Kaylee Presley Fleming on Instagram, she is much older now, much more mature now. I mean, she's not like 20 years old. But from the last time we saw Judith to there, it wouldn't really fit the timeline because when Rick and Michonne leave the CRM, I guess they leave, right? Maybe they don't. But I don't know, like, how that would fit. Like, so much time would have to go by, and, like, where would they be? Like, I don't know. I don't know how Judith and RJ would fit to see them. And I hope they do. I hope we get reunited. Like, I want to see reunions. I want to see people meet up with them and have that. And I want to see how it goes. But I don't know if they're eventually going to do that or not. I don't know. And I'm really glad the Walking Dead main show did not end with the stuff that they shot with older Judith and RJ and Coco and whatever in the van and the radio, and they stop in the highway or whatever. Like, I'm really glad they didn't see that, and we don't see that at all. Even though I would like to see that scene as like a deleted scene or a whatever at some point, but I'm glad that didn't make the cut and that wasn't the way they ended it. And I'm glad that we're getting the Rick and Michonne series. Because remember, guys, we could not be getting Rick and Michonne, the ones who live. Which would probably bother a lot of people. It would bother me because I like Rick and Michonne and I want to see them again and I want to see that be done and satisfied. But Rick and Michonne, to me, are essential to have a satisfying ending. It doesn't have to truly end with just them and it's over and done, no more Walking Dead. But I think that's a big step in the direction of having ending with Rick and Michonne, because Michonne just left, and where did she go with these people? Rick went away to CRM, and they were promising us movies, and we're not seeing these movies. We're seeing one season of 6 episodes. Could there be more? Yeah, there's been no word of that yet, but I hope so. I hope we get to see them too. Yeah, somebody just read some in the chat. But overall, guys, hopefully you're doing well. I know that I don't have any kids, but if you're having the kids go back to school pretty soon, I know here in Florida they're going to be going back to school end of the week, and in the Northeast and probably parts of the United States, that they have school going back after Labor Day. I don't know, are kids going back to school this week? Have they gone back already where you guys live? Because it's annoying with school zones and all this crazy stuff with driving around. And then I live by a bunch of school zones. And I'm like, oh, come on. It's just so annoying. And then school buses and kids and then driving around. It's just like, it's too much. Like it was nice for the summer not having to deal with that stuff. But, you know, kids back to school next week on there as well, too. So Big Pearson asks, what did everybody think of Dead City? I enjoyed Dead City. I thought Dead City was, I don't know, I kept my expectations low and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Negan. Maggie was okay. The Croat stuff was good. I enjoyed that being basically the Negan show. I mean, of course, Maggie was there and Herschel and blah, blah, blah. But we'll have to see. And speaking of Ozark, it's interesting because you get to see, I know so many people told me about the Dama being in Ozark. And I don't want to give anything away if you haven't seen Ozark. But she's definitely in Ozark. And this lady likes being a villain, I could tell. Because she's pretty terrible in Ozark, you know? And I'm like, man, this actress loves to be a villainous role. And again, I've only watched the first season, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And I like Jason Bateman. And to me, it reminds me a lot of Breaking Bad. And without the drugs and the crystal meth and the blue meth. So it's definitely something that I'm like, every time I'm seeing, I like Ozark, don't get me wrong. But I'm like, man, I'm just thinking to myself, this reminds me a lot of Breaking Bad. It reminds me a lot of this craziness. And I don't know, again, I haven't seen any more than the first season, but I don't know if Jason Bateman's going to turn into Heisenberg or if he's going to do this or if he's going to be that. But I like the story, and every time you get to see an actor from The Walking Dead, I was like, hey, that's so-and-so, or hey, that's so-and-so. That's pretty cool. And anytime you get to see that on other shows, it's always going to be, you know, anytime you see Cooper, you're like, Jerry, Ezekiel, Lydia, Maggie, Negan, Daryl, Rick, Michonne, you know. And I was watching yesterday, I was going through the channels and just putting something on. And Captain America Civil War came on. And I like that movie. I like Winter Soldier and I like Civil War. And they're Captain America movies, even though Civil War is basically like an Avengers movie because there's so many people in there. But there's so many good moments in that. And it's just kind of crazy when Iron Man and Captain America are fighting and what happens to Winter Soldier, and just to see it setting up stuff there too. And it's just, I don't know, it was just kind of cool to see. And I don't know if Marvel is ever going to get back to that, because you'll have to see. And then also I think the next Captain America movie is the one with Falcon is new Captain America, and Harrison Ford is that general guy. And we'll see what happens with going forward with that, but hopefully that's going to be another good movie. That might be one of the better movies of that universe. I don't know what's left for that stuff. Rob K says 2 more months till Loki season 2. I'm excited for that. Have you guys seen the trailer for Loki season 2? I love Data from the Goonies, Ke Kwan, and he's in Loki season 2, and he's in a decent amount of the trailer, and it's cool. Like Tom Middleton does a good job. Red Hulk. Harrison Ford's gonna play Red Hulk. Yeah, I like Civil War. I like Winter Soldier. I like Infinity War, Endgame. They're definitely up there as well. And then Iron Man, the first Iron Man is still good. Even though I feel really bad for Terrence Howard, you know, because he was Rhodey, he was Rhodes, he was the first guy, he was in that movie, and then there's the part where Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man flies away, and Rhodes turns to the silver armor thing, and he's like, next time. And he walks away, and you're like, there ain't no next time, Terrence. It sucks. It sucks, too. So, Carol Q&A, have you made plans to go see the Bear in Tampa yet? No, I have not. I saw your comment, Carol, about the bear, the Sun Bear. We haven't been to the Tampa Zoo in a long time. We went to the zoo, I don't even know now, like 10 years ago or something ridiculous. But I love the zoo. We love going to zoos. But there's like the big controversy about the Sun Bear. Is it a person in a suit? Is it this? And I saw more of the video, and it's something that it's a person in a suit is what people are thinking, but I think it's just a regular bear. Like the bear's like waving and it's walking and it's moving things. But I can see why people think it's like, that's not a real bear, because most people think all bears are going to look like black bears or big brown bears. But there's different, breeds of bear. And so, but I haven't seen it yet, Carol, too. So. But all right, guys, that's my hour. I'll be back next Sunday to talk about different stuff going on. Hopefully you guys will check out Hard Knocks on HBO. It airs this Tuesday, August 8th, with the Jets. And, I don't even like the Jets, but I love inside the NFL stuff where you get to see like them meeting and the crazy stuff and that, and they talk about different people trying to make the team and everything, and it's always pretty cool. I always watch it every year. But there you go, guys. Thank you for taking the time for being here. Check out Fight For Us on Amazon. I will definitely be working hard on wrapping up my latest book, Reset. So let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below. And remember, guys, with hard work, dedication, belief, and sacrifice, you can truly achieve your goals. Believe in yourself. You can do it. See you guys next Sunday, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Check out Dark Winds if you haven't. That's the AMC show from now until September 10th when the Dower Show premieres. I'll be back next Sunday. See you guys.